When, in the course of human history, it becomes necessary for people to reaffirm the fundamental truth that all are born free and equal, and to reject the oppressive forces that have long sought to deny the dignity and liberty of humankind, it is only just that such truths be declared with conviction and urgency. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all human beings, regardless of birth or station, are created equal, that they are endowed with fundamental and unyielding rights, among which are life, liberty, privacy, happiness, justice, and the means to pursue these freely, unshackled by tyranny or want, that these rights are not privileges bestowed upon the few, but the rightful inheritance of all who walk this earth. Yet, throughout the ages, these truths have been obscured by the weight of conquest, exploitation, and subjugation. From the earliest empires to the present age, there have been those who would claim dominion over others, justifying oppression through false doctrines of divine right and racial superiority. The doctrine of discovery, issued by papal decree in the 15th century, gave license to European monarchs to claim lands already inhabited by sovereign peoples, declaring that non-Christians were unworthy of self-rule and that their lands and bodies were the rightful property of foreign powers. This doctrine laid the foundation for centuries of colonialism, enslavement, and genocide, denying the natural rights of millions. Likewise, the transatlantic slave trade, born of avarice and inhumanity, tore millions from their homelands, treating human beings as mere commodities to be bought and sold. The laws of empire, including the codes of chattel slavery, the apartheid of Jim Crow, and the forced removals of indigenous nations, sought to divide and subjugate rather than to uphold the dignity of all. Even as nations spoke of liberty, they forged chains for their brethren. And yet, against this darkness, there have always been those who have risen to proclaim the light of justice. The Magna Carta, wrested from the hand of tyranny, declared that even kings were subject to law. The Declaration of Independence and the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen affirmed that all men are born free and equal. The abolitionists, the suffragists, and the countless warriors for justice have laid the foundation for a world in which all may stand as equals. But it was not until the ravages of World War, when humankind bore witness to the unspeakable horrors of genocide, that the nations of the earth assembled to proclaim, with one voice, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. In that document, the United Nations affirmed that all people, without distinction of race, gender, class, or creed, are entitled to the full spectrum of human rights, civil, political, economic, social, and cultural. Yet, despite this noble decree, the struggle for human dignity remains incomplete. Even today, forces persist that would deny these rights. The weight of economic inequality, the scourge of systemic racism, and the continued oppression of the marginalized stand as barriers between the present and the promise of justice. In the United States, where the ideals of democracy were once held sacred, the reality of equality and human rights falls short. Millions toil without a living wage, many are denied health care, and the powerful hoard wealth while the labor of the many is undervalued. Many face daily discrimination. These injustices are not the marks of a free society, but the lingering chains of an unequal past. Thus, let it be known that these rights are absolute, and that no power, no ruler, and no law may justly stand in defiance of them. We do therefore declare that the following rights belong to all humankind as a matter of natural law and of justice. Number 1, the right to peace. That all people shall have the right to live free from war, militarization, and violence. That no government, institution, or individual shall have the right to wage war for profit, conquest, or power. That all people shall have the right to resist militarization, to demand disarmament, and to live in a world where conflicts are resolved through justice rather than violence. That war shall not be the default state of humankind, but a last and rare resort, undertaken only in the defense of life, liberty, and the protection of fundamental human rights. Number 2, the right to life. That every human being has the right to exist, free from unlawful violence, war, persecution, and unnecessary suffering, that no person shall be deprived of the means necessary to sustain life, including food, clean water, health care, and safety, that societies shall be structured to protect and nurture human life, rather than place profit or power above its preservation. Number 3, the right to liberty, that no person shall be held in servitude or forced labor, and that all shall be free in body, in thought, and in spirit, that individuals shall not be unjustly detained, enslaved, or coerced into systems that strip them of their autonomy, that all people shall have the right to make their own choices in accordance with their conscience, free from undue influence or force. Number 4, the right to happiness, that all people shall have the right to pursue fulfillment, well-being, and joy, unburdened by undue suffering, injustice, or fear, that governments, economies, and societies shall not be structured solely around material wealth, but around the well-being and prosperity of all, that the success of a nation shall not be measured by riches alone, but by the health, peace, and happiness of its people. Number 5, the right to privacy, that all shall be free from unwarranted surveillance, intrusion, or the violation of their personal autonomy, that no government, corporation, or entity shall have the right to monitor, collect, or use personal data without consent, that individuals shall have the right to secure communication, private spaces, and freedom from unjust search and seizure. Number 6, the right to belonging, that all people shall have the right to be recognized, accepted, and included within society and community, that no person shall be cast out, made to feel unworthy, or denied their place among others by reason of race, gender, class, identity, origin, or belief, that every person shall have the right to participate in society, to share in cultural life, and to find meaning and connection among their fellow human beings. Number 7, the right to equality, that no person shall be deemed lesser than another by reason of race, gender, class, religion, sexual orientation, disability, or nation of birth, that all shall be treated as equals under the law, in society, and in opportunity, that no system, institution, or government shall create or enforce laws, customs, or practices that favor one group over another, nor shall discrimination in any form be tolerated. Number 8, the right to justice, that all shall have equal protection under the law, and that no power shall shield the wealthy while condemning the poor, that the courts and institutions of law shall serve all people, not just the privileged, that no person shall be denied legal representation or access to justice by reason of poverty, that the law shall be written and enforced with fairness, with no person or entity placed above them. Number 9, the right to due process and fair trial, that no person shall be deprived of liberty, punished, or exiled without due process under the law, that all accused persons shall have the right to a fair, public, and impartial trial, conducted by an independent judiciary, that all shall be considered innocent until proven guilty, and shall have the right to legal defense, access to evidence, and protection from wrongful imprisonment. Number 10, the right to freedom from arbitrary arrest and detention, that no person shall be unlawfully seized, detained, or exiled without just cause, that no authority shall imprison individuals without clear evidence of wrongdoing, nor use detention as a weapon against dissent, protest, or marginalized communities. Number 11, the right to freedom from cruel and inhuman punishment, that torture, degrading treatment, and all forms of cruel punishment shall be forbidden, that no person shall be subject to inhumane confinement, unjust solitary detention, or any act that violates their dignity as a human being, that capital punishment shall not be used as a tool of vengeance, nor shall punishment be used as a means of oppression or social control. Number 12, the right to freedom of thought and expression, that all people shall be free to believe as they choose, to think as they will, and to express their ideas without fear of persecution, that speech shall not be silenced nor ideas suppressed, simply because they challenge power or tradition. That no government, corporation, or institution shall impose censorship or dictate what may be thought, said, or believed. Number 13, the right to freedom of religion. That all people shall have the right to practice, change, or abstain from any religion without persecution or coercion. That no faith shall be forced upon others, nor shall any person be judged or discriminated against for their beliefs or lack thereof. That religious institutions shall not dictate the laws of the state, nor shall the state impose restrictions upon faith so long as it does not infringe upon the rights of others. Number 14, the right to freedom from oppression. That tyranny in all forms shall be resisted, whether from government, corporation, or private power. That no authority shall use force, coercion, or economic control to subjugate people or deny them their dignity. That all shall have the right to challenge, critique, and dismantle oppressive systems. Number 15, the right to political participation and representation. That all people shall have the right to vote, to run for office, and to participate in shaping the laws under which they live. That no person shall be denied the right to representation by reason of race, class, gender, or any other identity. That governments shall be held accountable to the people, and democracy shall not be reduced to a hollow formality, but shall be a true mechanism of self-governance. Number 16, the right to rebellion against tyranny. That when any government, institution, or system becomes destructive of these rights, it is the right of the people to resist, alter, or abolish it. That no unjust power shall remain unquestioned, and that people shall never be condemned for struggling against oppression. Number 17, the right to a free press. That the press shall be free from censorship, intimidation, or governmental control. That journalists shall not be persecuted, imprisoned, or silenced for reporting the truth. That access to factual, unbiased information is essential for an informed citizenry, and that no power shall have the right to suppress, distort, or monopolize the flow of information. Number 18, the right to independent thought. That all people shall have the right to think freely, without coercion, indoctrination, or manipulation by governments, corporations, or ideological forces. That education shall foster critical thinking rather than blind obedience, and that no authority shall dictate what individuals must believe. Number 19, the right to nonviolent mass protest. That all people shall have the right to assemble, demonstrate, and engage in acts of peaceful resistance against injustice. That no government, institution, or power shall suppress the voices of the people through violence, intimidation, or legal repression. That sit-ins, strikes, boycotts, marches, and acts of civil disobedience are not crimes but fundamental expressions of freedom. Number 20, the right to work with dignity. That all who labor shall receive fair wages, humane treatment, and protection from exploitation. That no worker shall be subjected to unsafe conditions, poverty wages, or forced labor. That workers shall have the right to form unions, to bargain collectively, and to demand fair treatment without fear of retaliation. Number 21, the right to rest and leisure. That all workers shall be entitled to reasonable working hours, fair wages, and time for rest, recreation, and family. That no person shall be forced into conditions that deny them adequate time for sleep, health, and personal fulfillment. That society shall not demand endless labor while depriving workers of the right to live full and meaningful lives. Number 22, the right to education. That knowledge shall not be hoarded by the privileged but made available to all, so that each may reach their full potential. That all people shall have the right to free, high-quality education without barriers of cost, discrimination, or access. That education shall foster critical thinking, creativity, and empowerment rather than indoctrination. Number 23, the right to health care. That no person shall be denied medical care, for health is not the privilege of the rich, but the right of all. That all people shall have access to doctors, medicine, treatment and preventive care without financial hardship. That no company or government shall profit from the suffering of others. Number 24, the right to housing and security. That none shall be cast into homelessness or deprivation, for a just society ensures that all may live without fear of starvation, eviction, or suffering. That shelter is not a commodity to be hoarded, but a human necessity that shall not be denied. Number 25, the right to academic and scientific inquiry. That all people shall have the right to seek knowledge, conduct research, and engage in academic and scientific inquiry free from censorship, ideological constraints, or political persecution. That education and discovery shall serve the common good, and that no authority shall hinder the pursuit of truth. Number 26, the right to economic security and the abolition of extreme wealth. That all people shall have the right to economic security, ensuring that their basic needs, food, housing, health care, education, and dignity are met as a fundamental right, not a privilege. That no individual or groups thereof shall have the right to hoard wealth so vast that it deprives others of their rightful share in society's abundance. That no person or in tandem with others shall hold more wealth than the bottom 50% of society combined. For the concentration of extreme wealth is a direct abrogation of all other human rights. That no one should hold more wealth than an average person can spend in several lifetimes, for these disparities depend upon the systemic exploitation, impoverishment, and suffering of the many. That an economy built upon justice must prioritize human flourishing over the unchecked accumulation of power and wealth. Number 27, the right to a healthy planet. That the land, air, and waters shall be protected, not plundered, so that future generations may inherit a world fit for life. That no government, corporation, or individual shall have the right to pollute, destroy, or exploit the natural world for profit while endangering the survival of others. That climate change, deforestation, and mass extinction shall not be ignored, and that humanity shall act as stewards of the earth, not its destroyers. Number 28, the right to freedom of movement. That all people shall have the right to move freely within their own country and to leave and return to any nation without fear. That no person shall be forcibly detained in one place, nor prevented from seeking a better life elsewhere. That borders shall not be used as tools of cruelty, but as mechanisms of coordination between peoples, respecting the right to migration, asylum, and the pursuit of safety and opportunity. Number 29, the right to own property. That no person shall be arbitrarily deprived of their land, home, or possessions. That property shall not be concentrated in the hands of the few, while the many are denied the means to live. That land ownership shall be a means of security and well-being, not a tool of oppression or economic hoarding. Number 30, the right to love and family. That no government or institution shall dictate whom a person may love or marry. That all shall have the right to form families, partnerships, and relationships of their choosing, free from interference, persecution, or discrimination. That no child shall be denied a loving home based on race, gender, nationality, sexual orientation, or any other characteristic. Number 31, the right to cultural and artistic expression. That all people shall have the right to participate in the cultural life of their community, to celebrate their traditions, and to create and share artistic works. That no culture shall be erased, silenced, or criminalized. That governments and institutions shall not censor, co-opt, or destroy artistic and cultural expression for political control. Number 32, the right to seek refuge. That those who flee war, oppression, persecution, or disaster shall be granted sanctuary, for the suffering of one is the concern of all. That no person shall be forced to remain in a nation where they face violence, starvation, or unjust imprisonment. That all refugees shall be treated with dignity, compassion, and fairness, and that no country shall have the right to close its doors to those in desperate need. Number 33, the right to practice and exercise virtue. That all people shall have the right to cultivate and exercise reason, equality, civic virtue, and moral obligation, and that the free practice thereof shall not be abridged. That individuals shall be free to pursue wisdom, justice, and ethical action in their personal lives and within society. That no government, institution, or ideology shall coerce, suppress, or hinder the pursuit of moral excellence or the duty to uphold truth and fairness. Number 34, the right to transcendence and human advancement. That all people shall have the right to seek self-improvement, personal growth, and the expansion of human potential, whether through education, philosophy, science, technology, or spiritual enlightenment. That no authority shall limit the pursuit of knowledge, discovery, or human evolution. That humanity shall not be shackled by ignorance nor blind to the lessons of history, but shall listen, learn, and strive ever forward, building upon the wisdom of the past to become more than it is today. Number 35, the right to live in a free society. That all people shall have the right to dwell in a society where these rights are not mere words upon a page, but the living foundation of law, governance, and daily life. That freedom shall not be conditional, nor justice rationed, nor dignity reserved for the privileged alone. That true liberty shall be measured not by what is written, but by what is lived. Number 36, the right to resistance and the protection of human rights. That all people shall have the right to protest, resist, and take all necessary steps to defend and uphold the rights enumerated herein. That peaceful mass protest, civil disobedience, strikes, boycotts, and other acts of nonviolent resistance shall be protected and never criminalized. That no government, institution, or private power shall have the right to suppress the people's struggle for justice. We, therefore, as a people who believe in the universal dignity of humankind, do solemnly declare that the work of justice is not finished, and that the promise of human rights must be fully realized. Let it be known that the struggle for equality is not the struggle of the few, nor of any one people, but of all who seek to stand upon the earth as equals. To this cause we call upon all who cherish liberty to stand together in the name of justice. Let us support those who fight for human rights. Organizations such as the Human Rights Campaign, which advocates for LGBTQ+ equality, Amnesty International, which defends political prisoners, the NAACP, which combats racial injustice, and all others who labor for the protection of the most vulnerable. Let us embrace intersectionality, recognizing that the struggles of one are intertwined with the struggles of all. That the fight against poverty, against discrimination, and against oppression must be fought as one. We reject the falsehood that any person is worth less than another. We renounce the systems that hoard wealth in the hands of a few while millions suffer. We demand that the United States live up to its highest ideals, ensuring that no person is denied the full measure of human rights. We call upon all people, in all nations, to stand against oppression in all its forms. For a just world cannot be built upon a foundation of inequality. With one voice, let us declare that the time for justice is now. Let no force of greed, of hatred, or of oppression stand unchallenged. Let every people, in every land, rise together and proclaim the truth that has always been known, that all are equal, all are worthy, and all shall be free. These rights are not granted by rulers nor subject to the whims of governments. They are the birthright of all who call this world home. To deny these rights is to deny justice itself. And yet in this present moment, these rights are ignored, defied, and suppressed. The masses are condemned to poverty while the few amass untold fortunes. The powerful wage wars and call it peace. Those who demand justice are silenced, imprisoned, or slain. The suffering of the poor is deemed acceptable. The exploitation of workers is called necessary, and the cries of the oppressed are dismissed as the natural order of things. To this injustice we do not consent. To this oppression we do not submit. We therefore, as a people bound by conscience and guided by justice, do solemnly declare that we shall not rest until these rights are recognized and upheld for all. We call upon all who cherish liberty to stand together, upon the organizations that defend the oppressed, upon the peoples of all nations, and upon every person of goodwill to take up the struggle for justice. Let it be known that the time for action is now. Let no tyrant stand unchallenged, no injustice remain unopposed. Let the words of past declarations become not mere echoes of history, but the living law of the present. For life, liberty, privacy, and happiness are not privileges nor mere hopes for some distant future. They are the rightful claim of all who walk this earth. And until that claim is honored, we shall not yield. We shall not rest. Let this be our solemn oath. Let those who read these words not pass them by as mere echoes of history, nor regard them as the distant dreams of an unreachable world. Let none believe that justice is the work of others, nor that the burden of righteousness belongs to any but themselves. For the cause of human rights is not the labor of the few, but the duty of all who call themselves free. The ink of past declarations has been written upon parchment, upon law, upon the annals of time. But the true testament of justice is not in words, but in deeds. A right unclaimed is a right denied. A truth unspoken is a truth forsaken. Therefore, let those who believe in these principles stand not in silence, nor in idle hope, but in resolute action. To those who have known the weight of oppression, to those who have felt the sting of injustice, to those who have yearned for a world where dignity is not rationed, but recognized in all, let this be your cause, your banner, your oath. Let all who bear witness to this declaration make it more than words upon a page. Let them enshrine it in their hearts, carry it upon their lips, and inscribe it upon the world through their actions. And let them affix their names to this cause not as mere signatories, but as sworn defenders of the rights and dignity of all humankind, as vowed, as attested, as bound by conscience and by the undeniable truth of our shared existence. For liberté, égalité, fraternité. Let all who sign below do so not in ink alone, but in the unwavering conviction that justice, once declared, must be made real.